In the 1960s, supersonic was the future, and of course America was not going to miss out. A design competition for a supersonic airliner was started, and Lockheed's entry was the L-2000. Boeing won the contract for the Supersonic Transport, or SST, with their 2707, but the 2707 is extensively covered already. Lockheed, like much of the American aviation industry, had been working on an SST starting in 1958. The first designs used a tapered straightwing, like the F-104 Starfighter, but in wind tunnel tests it caused drag and center of pressure issues. The next design, the CL-823, had a delta wing and front canards. Lockheed knew that a variable geometry wing would have many advantages, but it would be too heavy. Boeing went for a swing wing with their 2707, but Lockheed was proved right when Boeing abandoned the swing wing. Other designs included the Convair 589, a small airliner based on the B-58 Hustler bomber, the Douglas 2229, a 100-passenger transport, the NAC-60, which we'll get to later, and the 2707, the most ambitious. In 1961, British and French manufacturers announced a joint project called the Concorde, the first serious effort at a supersonic airliner. That same year, President Kennedy committed the federal government to subsidizing 75% of the development cost of an SST. At his graduation speech at the Air Force Academy on June 5, 1963, Kennedy started the program. Earlier that year in May, Jan Tripp, president of Pan American Airways, ordered Concordes. Pan Am was considered by many the unofficial flag carrier of the U.S., which made it urgent to develop an SST. The director of the FAA, Najib Halabi, decided to improve on the design of the SST rather than compete with the Concorde. The SST was to carry 250 passengers, more than the biggest airliners at the time, to travel at Mach 2.7 to Mach 3, a third more than the Concorde, and 3, have a range of 4,000 miles. This would be less than the Concorde, but would be enough for direct flight from New York to London, Paris, West Germany, northern Brazil, Anchorage, where another flight could be boarded, even Milan. 3 aerospace companies responded: Boeing, builder of the most successful jetliners up to this point; Lockheed, which had built the Mach 3 A-12, predecessor of the Blackbird; and North American, which had built the biggest Mach 3 aircraft to date, the XB-70 Valkyrie, a really great aircraft. The North American design was built on the Valkyrie and would have been a modest design with the same number of passengers as the Boeing 707 and a speed of only Mach 2.6. Douglas had studied the economics and decided it would be unprofitable. 3 jet engine manufacturers responded too: General Electric, Pratt & Whitney, and Curtiss-Wright. The proposals appeared in Washington, D.C. in January 1964. The NAC-60 was rejected quickly, as well as the Curtiss-Wright engine. This left the 2707 and the L-2000. Back in 1963, Lockheed extended the leading edge forward and made the wing a double delta. With careful shaping of the airframe, this was able to control the center of pressure issues. The engines went from buried in the wings to being mounted in individual pods. This design was designated the L-2000-1. It was 223 feet long, could carry around 170 passengers in mixed class configuration, and 5 abreast in coach with 4 abreast in first class. The wing was able to provide enough lift for landing and takeoff speeds comparable to the Boeing 707. The nose would be drooped for landing and takeoff for greater visibility. The engine would be a more powerful variant of the Pratt & Whitney J58 turbofan, which had great success on the A-12. In 1964, the government changed their requirements, meaning Lockheed had to modify the design into the L-2000-2. The aircraft would reach Mach 1 at 42,000 feet to reduce the sonic boom hard on the ground, then climb up to a height of 71,000 feet. It would then climb up to a very high cruising altitude of 76,000 feet. The engine previously selected by Lockheed was no longer deemed acceptable. Pratt & Whitney designed the more powerful JTF-17A, and GE came out with the GE4. Lockheed did not know what design would win, so the nacelles had to be built with both in mind. The more powerful engines meant that supersonic penetration could be achieved at 45,000 feet in all conditions. Bigger versions were proposed with up to 250 passengers max. In 1966, the L-2000 and the 2707 were to come before the FAA, and one was going to be selected. The L-2000-7 came in two versions, the L-2000-7A and -7B. The -7A had a reshaped wing and much improved capacity with mixed class configuration seating 230 passengers. The 7B was extended to around 290 feet. But the FAA decided that the 2707 would be better to go ahead with. The L-2000 was seen as under-ambitious and too loud. The L-2000 was mostly built of stainless steel, but the 2707 was built out of titanium, which is expensive and hard to machine. Boeing engineers would ultimately abandon the swing wing as too heavy, which was what Lockheed thought in the first place. In 1971, the SST program was cancelled before a flying prototype could be built. Hope you enjoyed!